I wonder if the families who have been rendered homeless would be applauding the speech of the deputy who's just sat down. When I listen, when I'm listening to the Taoiseach talking about housing, I genuinely wonder, is he in the same country as I am? He tells us progress is being made, and I have to say that is a deeply disingenuous statement. And there are times I wonder, is the Taoiseach in denial? Does he actually believe the things that he's saying? When in fact what's very clear is he is, just like his other colleagues, including Deputy Brophy, is wilfully misleading the House and the public, not only about his own record, but indeed the record of those of us on this side of the House. And the reason why is because the government doesn't want an election, and that is the very definition of cynical. So let's just look at the progress that this government has made under Micheál Martin and Leo Varadkar. Homelessness has increased in the last 2 years by 19%. Child homelessness by a staggering 40% in the last 12 months. There are now 5,000 single adults in emergency accommodation funded by the Minister for Housing's department. That is the highest level of single-person homelessness ever recorded in modern times. There are over 3,000 children tonight, because of the policies of this government, sleeping in emergency accommodation. And we are only days away from breaching the October 2019 peak of the highest level of officially recognised homelessness in the history of the state. Rents are sky high, €24,000 for an average rental in this city. In the Taoiseach's own constituency, €19,000 a year for a standard rental. And contrary to what the Taoiseach said, in fact, the Minister for Housing has not increased protections for renters. Last April, he stripped the single most important intervention that led to reductions in family homelessness, the ban on evictions, and that has led to almost a month-on-month increase. And I have to say, the crisis in the private rental sector is continuing. Not only is that sector shrinking month-on-month because of the government's failed policies, but the new rental supply that's coming in, because of the building and planning regulations introduced by Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, is locking in high-cost rental in perpetuity. That's why the ESRI rightly highlighted in a report last week that this government's policies, like that of them before, are subjecting an entire generation to the risk of pension or poverty. And contrary to the Minister's claim and the Taoiseach's claim that they are about home ownership, every time Fianna Fáil has been in government with Micheál Martin and Darragh O'Brien, home ownership has plummeted and people depending on insecure, high-cost rentals has continued. And with respect to social housing, we're told it's going to be the biggest social housing programme in the history of the state. The Minister's own report at the end of Q1 this year says the total number of new social homes delivered under the government's programme is 639. Just 7% of the total, about the same where we were last year during COVID when there was a lockdown. So I don't believe you're going to meet those targets. But even if you do, they're 1,000 less than what was promised by the last government and therefore nowhere near enough. And the affordable housing, 65 affordable rentals last year. We may get a couple of hundred affordable purchases this year. That's not a serious commitment to tackling this crisis. And I've heard a number of deputies here loudly heckling from counties affected by defective block. You weren't so loud last week when the government was ramming through legislation, leaving those families with tens of thousands of euros of debt, to fit defective homes that are defective because of the light touch regulation of your parties. Now,
deputies, thank you.
One of the many.
Charlie.
Very loud today, Charlie. Where were you last week when your constituents needed you?
Sold out last week, Charlie. Relax.
One of the greatest misrepresentations, misrepresentations of this government in relation to all of the opposition parties, but particularly ours, is we have no alternatives. And with our private members' time today, along with other colleagues and the entire Raise the Roof civil society and trade union movement, we'll outline those to you yet again. But what I'll say is this. Sinn Féin has not objected to public housing on public land. What we have objected to is the sweetheart land deals and sweetheart tax deals where Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are gifting public land gifting public land to private developers to build unaffordable homes. If you want to ask about housing objections, ask your colleagues from Dublin Midwest why they opposed the strategic housing development in Clonburris of 11,000 homes. We have the alternatives, we have the will, we want change, and that's why I'm supporting the motion of no confidence in this government this evening.
Thank you.